This is Carol from the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. This is the adult cardiac database for May 6th. For our normal monthly call, we have on the line with us, we have Donna McDonald, Emily Conrad, Paul Meehan, Leanne Jones, and Melanie Bent from IQVIA, along with other STS and IQVIA staff. And you could see some of our pictures online. We thought we tried something new this time, so that's why you're seeing us. Hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to get started here and see if I don't mess up too bad. So the introduction, just some housekeeping, important dates, the AQO update, and then the COVID-19 update, IQVIA update, and then questions. So please use the Q&A function to submit your questions. The data spec upgrade for version 4.20, we have released the testing files from IQVIA over to the vendors, so they are working on that now. And we will have a vendor call, I think, coming up here next week to discuss any, as the vendors keep on progressing along, to have a call with them just to touch base and make sure we're all doing okay. The May training manual update for adult cardiac was posted this morning online, and unfortunately we had to post a couple new data collection forms because we're going to start collecting the date for COVID positive PCR testing. So here's a timeline for the adult cardiac. We have the monthly webinar today, and then the user group call is on May 20th. Data spec upgrade call is on May 28th. The Harvest 1 2020 dashboard should be available sometime in, hopefully it should be available in June. We'll be communicating out a more permanent date as we get closer. And then we have our next adult monthly webinar on June 3rd. We are starting new data manager sessions. They'll be held quarterly, and there'll be 2 sessions, each a week apart. The first one will be on June 4th, and then the second part of that session will be on June 11th. Melinda will be hosting those. Oh, and Melinda's on the line too, you just can't see her. Melinda will be hosting those, and they'll be great for new data managers as well as seasoned data managers. If you have any want to just join and check in with us, I think that would be helpful for everybody. So we'll be sending out communications regarding those as well. July 1st is a version 4.20 go live, and we will not be delaying version 4.20. Harvest 2/3 will close on August 21st. Version 4.20 go live is set for July. Remember, that will be cases, that harvest will not close until October. So plenty of time to work and get the data in for that. I know everybody's under a stressful situation right now, but we are not going to delay the version 4.20 go live. And now I'm going to hand it over to Emily Conrad. Emily is our senior database coordinator for all of the databases, and her 2 main functions at STS are the audits and AQO, both very big projects for her to handle. So she's going to provide you with an AQO update. Emily? Oh, hi. Start over, Emily. Can you hear me?
All right.
Sorry.
Great. Hi, no problem. Hi, everyone. Emily Conrad here. I'm glad to be here today. Just a little update on AQO. We are working with our 4 planning committees right now. We have 1 for each database: adult cardiac, general thoracic, intermax, and congenital. AQO, just if you don't know what that is, it is our data managers meeting. We typically get together at a location, but this year it's going to be virtual. We provide a range of education. We have surgeon speakers. We also have data manager speakers. We cover both clinical and also like abstraction questions. With it going virtual, I think it's going to be a good opportunity. I think it's going to be very innovative and creative. We are working right now with our education team at platforms where we've looked at a bunch of different demos. We're hoping to have a platform within the month, and then we can start looking into the different functions that we want to have. We're going to be having e-posters, some live streamed talks, also pre-recorded materials that you can watch prior to having Q&A panels and also chat boards. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to ask questions and get some answers on anything that you are looking into. And then what else? I think that's about it. The live stream talks, we're thinking about 4 hours worth. And then pre-recorded talks, you'll be able to watch those whenever that you want. Carol, anything else that you think?
No, I think that covers it for right now. We're still working on types of things that making final decisions on things and seeing not just final decisions, but also seeing what's available and what other meetings are doing and trying to get ideas from them.
Yep.
Donna, do you have anything to add to that? Oh, let me unmute you.
Nope, that's okay. No,
Oh, sorry.
covered very well. Thanks, Carol and Emily.
Okay. Yeah, great job, Emily. Okay.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Emily.
And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at econrad@scs.org.
Very good, thank you. Then we're just going to do a quick COVID update. We are adding a field for the date for positive COVID testing. We will utilize temp DT sequence number 7225 in version 4.29. It's an 8-digit date field. And this field will be collected for any positive testing. I'll get more into the requirements to code JAS and to code that date, what should be captured there. Vendors, we will send out communication today to the sites and to vendors to make sure that if the vendors are able to implement those fields by changing the language that's associated with the sequence number and short name, they can definitely do that. If not, every version of all of our databases are built in with these temporary fields already. So you would just look for this temp DT field and the sequence number, and it should be formatted, be the 8-digit date field. To abstract the COVID-19 fields, it must be a positive PCR testing. That's different than the antibody testing. We are not capturing antibody testing. The only testing we're capturing to code yes for this is a positive PCR test. And then for more than one positive positive PCR test, we would collect the test closest to the OR date. Testing field we began that with April 1st cases, and then the date field began with May 1st cases. Sites can go back to January 1st, but we are not asking sites to retroactively collect these fields. And I apologize that was mislabeled in the training manual. We did update that for the May training manual. Just some clarifying things regarding the COVID-19 fields. We went over these previously, but I'll just re-bring them up in case somebody maybe missed that webinar. Sites, why are we collecting this field? We've heard from some sites that the COVID-19 positive patients are having worse surgical outcomes. Do you really need to go back to January? No, but your site can go back to January or as early as you see that your site was affected to capture both the COVID testing, was the patient tested positive for COVID, and the date field. Will these patients be included in the outcomes? We're still evaluating that. We don't have enough data in yet, and we probably won't know the impact on that until we do the Harvest 2 and Harvest 3 close in August. And then can I abstract a patient who is assumed to be COVID-19 but was not tested? Not only not tested, but tested negative. I should have clarified on that. We've gotten quite a few questions from some surgeons and from some sites regarding patients who they were certain had COVID-19, but the testing kept on coming back negative. Our surgeon leadership is very adamant that this patient has to have a positive COVID-19 test through PCR laboratory testing. So that we need to make sure that we're not just capturing patients here who are assumed to be COVID-19 positive. And then I'm going to hand it over. Melanie, are you back on?
Melanie had an internet interruption, so she's still reconnecting. This is Jeanette. If you've got the slides, I can get started on that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeanette. So Jeanette, do you want to introduce yourself? Because we haven't heard from you before. Okay.
My name's Jeanette Hanna. You may have heard me chiming in on some of the Q&A sections in prior sessions. I also work at IQVIA with Melanie on the platform.
Great, thank you. And just tell me next slide when you're ready.
Next slide. Okay, so we've got a new feature that we're very excited about. We know that many of you have, over the past couple of months, been sending in requests to have records deactivated or removed if you remove them from your vendor system. So a change that went in last weekend is the automatic record removal detection and handling based on the surgery dates in your submission file. So this was definitely one that's been raised in prior webinar sessions and, you know, just as a general feedback item. So we're quite pleased to have this available. It is automatic. You don't need to take any special action or anything to turn this on. So what will happen is if you submit a file that has a set of date ranges, it'll look at what's the earliest date and what's the last date. And then if we have extra records on our side within those date ranges that are not in your latest submission file, we'll assume you're intending to deactivate them, and the system will automatically handle that for you. Next slide. Okay, and we've got an example here. So this is showing that whole thing that I just described. So if you send in a file that includes the date range August 1st to August 5th, and prior to that load, we had these cases A, B, C, and D. And then you send in a new submission file that only includes cases A and D from the original set, but then it also has a new case, case E as in Edgar. This would be detected by the system as an intended removal for cases B and C, and those would be removed from the data set, deactivated. So if you later go, whoops, I wanted to have cases B and C available, you would then just be able to do a new submission file, and then those cases would then be available within your data set again. So it's not a permanent removal. It is something that if you just submit it again, then it would be included in the data set and available within your harvest. Next slide. Okay. So the workflow steps are summarized here. And so it does involve you removing the record from your source vendor system and then exporting your software file for the selected date range, which includes the cases that were removed. Then you'll submit that onto the new platform, and then the processing checks would automatically identify the records to be removed. So this is the end-to-end workflow. Next slide.
Oops, sorry.
Oop, oop. Okay. Did it skip ahead, or is this the next slide?
No, this is the next slide.
Okay,
Sorry, Jeanette.
great. So then the next item that we have is a change to the sort of efficiency of processing in the uploader. So one of the feedback points that we've gotten from a number of users is that you'd like the submissions to be faster. And we've also heard from a large number of people that the total number of validations that are visible within the data quality report, or DQR, is or can be a little bit overwhelming, and that some people wish they could really just focus on the stuff that's new or unique to their latest submission. So as part of what we've changed most recently is we've introduced an improvement that will detect if your submission has no changes on a record we've previously received in a submission. So when you initially load your file into the platform, your submission file, it will tell you how many records have been processed, and many of you have seen that on sort of that card interface. And then the next time you do a submission file, the system will detect what records are different than the ones we already have, and it will focus the DQR on those changes. So the card will show you that it's processed 15 records or 45, however many it is that you've changed within the time period you've included in your submission. You still have the ability to see the warnings the errors and warnings related to any records that we've previously received that weren't changed in your most recent submission, those are available in the original uploader history card. And of course, if you add a new record to your submission, that would also go through. So it's not just a question of changes on prior submissions, it's also new records included in a submission file. Next slide. So when that happens, the data quality report will include a message telling you which records were identified as not being changed. So you'll see that message sort of in the lower right with the red. It says this record has not changed, no updates were made. So right now, those messages will appear as warnings, and we are working on adding a filter to the DQR so that you can filter those messages out or choose to see them and focus on them if you'd like to do that review. Next slide. Okay. Melanie is back, so I'm going to let her take this one.
Okay, and hello everyone, and sorry I had some technical difficulties. My laptop wanted to restart on me. So I am back, and let's talk about what's coming up in an upcoming release that's slated for May. We have changes that specifically are focused on the data quality report related to validations. And we have these listed here. I also wanted to just say a quick point that the items that were covered by Jeanette were also posted in the notification section. So each of the new features that she covered, if you want further details in regards to that or recap of that, of course, these PowerPoints are also posted, but I just wanted to also notify you that the information is posted in the notification section. So let's talk about the specific updates that are going to be related to the DQR. We had a couple of validations that we're firing. The first one is in regards to the missing discharge date while the patient is still listed as being in the hospital. That has been corrected. Next is a validation regarding a set of data variables which are related to the urge emerge reason, specifically for 2.81. That one did unfortunately rear its head earlier, but we went back, did an additional review, and identified where the corrections needed to happen for that 2.81. So we've gone through, rechecked again 2.9. So we did not find any discrepancies there. It was within the 2.81 data version. Also validation corrections in regards to the fields for that are listed there, VSCHORPES, and the others that are listed within the valve tab. The other one is OP trachis. And then we had another one that was a high priority item that came up from support, was related to the CPB utilization. The validation was not firing correctly. And then another was listed, was related to the other non-card. So these were the items that we have identified and have fixed. We will be slating a deployment for these updates for this month. And then once the deployment is done, we will, of course, post the notification within the platform to give you an overview of those items. There are some other things that have been raised. I just want to call out that we have recent reports, even as of today, so I wanted to, at least since we have a call, as of today, we are seeing an issue raised where with the functionality, with the card updating the files that have been uploaded, we're seeing instances where after the upload, the total number of records that are accepted into the database is showing as 0. And it's also showing the card entry as failed. That actually is something that is a new item that was raised as of this afternoon. So I do want to say that that has been reported, and we will be posting an update in regards to that also. I do not have the ID right at this moment, but I do want to at least call that out if anyone encounters that scenario. Again, that's the uploader card displaying an ID it's displaying a 0 for cases not being accepted. And also there is a red X next to that card. The other behavior that we saw with that workflow is that once you open the card, the DQR associated with it, we noticed that the records are showing, so the records are uploading, but the display card is showing differently. So once you open the DQR, you will see that the records were actually accepted into the database, but on the initial card, it's showing different. So that one is a high priority item. So I do want to at least raise that. If anyone has encountered that, know that we are working on it. Okay, I think this is the last slide in regards to the updates. We will have more updates related to the reports, so I don't want to just skip over that. We are slating time frame of when those fixes are going to be going in, and those are related to the MVR, the missing variable report, and also the dashboard. So we still have some items that we will be addressing also, but these are the immediate items that you're seeing here that we will be getting into the platform. So just wanted to give that update. And I believe the next slide is going to be related to support.
Yeah. Great, thanks Jeanette, thanks Melanie. So this is the IQVIA support plan. It's the same slide that we've shown since I think November. Hopefully it's helpful and it's ingrained in everybody's brain. Reach out to IQVIA first, and then IQVIA will reach out either to STS or they will escalate it to a tier 2. Most things are taken care of within a 24-hour time window that are sent into tier 1. And then tier 2 may take a little bit longer, but they do communicate well and are getting back to folks pretty quickly. If it has to get escalated to STS, we'll try to answer it here. And if it's something that we are not able to answer, then we will send it over to DCRI. And here are your resources, the STS National Database webpage, the STS Tech Support at IQVIA.com. Those would be questions regarding the uploader, DQR, missing variable report, dashboard, or password and login. And they also have a phone number that you can call. And then the STS National Database feedback form, more for things that you may want to share with us about things that are going well, aren't going well, ways to improve, or anything like that that you think may be helpful for us to hear that doesn't require an immediate response or is not part of your current submission, any current submission issue. So it should always be directed to if it is related to your current submission, they should be reported to the STS Tech Support. Okay, and then our next webinars, we have our user group call on May 20th. A version upgrade call on May 28th, and our monthly webinar is on June 3rd. And there's my contact information. And please use the Q&A function. We're going to go through questions. We have about 20 in there now. And I guess we're going to go ahead here. Hold on one second. Okay, Melanie and team, are you ready? Did we lose Donna? Okay.
We're ready.
All right, here we go. And Melanie didn't join on webcam today, but she said she will next time. So we're hopeful for that. Yeah, next time. Okay, Mary Lowe, here's our first question. Is it possible to isolate aortic aneurysms dissections only cases in IQVIA? I only saw the major cases listed, thank you. And I'm not sure that we do that yet. I know that we do report them out in the DCRI, the reports that did come from DCRI. In the back of that report, there was an other case section that reported out the aorta aneurysm dissection only. I think that we were planning to do that in IQVIA. I don't know that it was part of phase 1, but Melanie or Paul, did you have and Paul Meehan's-on, if y'all don't know him, he's our friend from DCRI, and he's been brought over to IQVIA with the transition. We picked him and Leanne up, so we're happy to have him as part of the team too. Melanie or Paul, did you want to add anything to that?
I think that all sounds right to me. So.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything additional.
Okay, and did we lose Emily's camera too? The next question is, will CEU be offered? And we will be, there she is. Will CEU be offered, Emily, at AQO?
We are talking to Core Excel right now. We're planning on having both CEU and perfusion credit.
Awesome, thank you. Next question. If a patient was tested for COVID-19 pre-op and was negative, but on day 30, but on the 30-day phone call had tested positive after discharge, do we change our COVID-19 answer? And Melinda, if you're on, we can probably tag team this one. I would say that we would want to capture the yes test for this. So you would want to capture the positive test and the date that that patient was tested. Melinda, if you're on, or if Leanne, if you have anything to add to that, if I just called on you.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what we're doing for general thoracic and adult and congenital.
Okay. Next question. Will there be a cost for H2O? Yeah, so
We do, oh, go ahead.
no, please go ahead, Emily, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yes, there will be. We do not know the cost at the moment. We should know more within the month when we pick our platform. We will provide information as soon as we know.
Yeah, it'll be a much lower cost is what we've been talking about. It definitely won't be the cost since we're not providing meals and things like that. But there still will be a charge for it. Yeah, especially since we're providing CEUs for it.
Correct.
How long will, the next question, how long will the new data manager meeting last on June 4th and June 11th? Those are each going to be an hour long. They're going to be separate, different content, and they'll all each be an hour long with time for questions. So probably 30 to 40 minutes of content, and then 30 to 20 minutes for Q&A. Next question, if the test date closest to surgery is actually post-op, do we collect that one? Yes, that's correct. Next question, are participants now expected to go back and collect the date of positive tests for cases that have already been abstracted? So let me see here if I can show you this slide. Let's see. The date to start collecting the date field was set for May 1st, just because we don't want to put that burden on sites to have to go back to April 1st. So the date field will begin with May 1st. If sites decide to go ahead and go back, retroactively collect that date field, they are more than welcome to do that. But we definitely don't want to require sites to have to retro abstract cases. For the next question, for the date entry related to COVID testing, which date would you want us to enter? Collection date or result date? For some organizations, testing may take days before results come back. And Melinda, I can take this one if you want to fill in, but we're telling sites to use what we would want is the testing date for that. Okay, next question. In the past, if a surgeon was deleted from the STS records and their name was accidentally added to the database, this would kick out in the harvest submission to Duke. We found a surgeon who was removed in 2014 who was included in the harvest. Will IQVIA identify current surgeons versus deleted surgeons? And Melanie, I'm going to hand this one over to you and to Paul and Jeanette.
So yeah, I think it's, yeah. So in the past, the problem, so this is the surgeons not being signed on to have their data submitted. So actually, Melanie, I'm not sure where we are with that.
I need to take a look at, so Marian, if you can put in the chat, did you already report this to, was this raised with our support team in regards to this surgeon who was deleted in 2014? Because
Yeah, if you,
we just need to get more information to see what happened in this scenario.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to check this out and get back to you to see how that happened. If you want to provide more information, Mary, in the Q&A, or if you wanted to submit it, you could either submit it over to me or to IQVIA. That would be really helpful for us to have that, and I'll just put up our contact information again so you have that. Okay. Okay, next question. When a record is deactivated, does it mean that the record is permanently removed from the database? IQVIA team, this is for you.
I can take that. This is Jeanette. So our database has what we call a soft delete option. So the status on the record is changed from a status of active to a status of deactivated or deleted. And so we do have it available behind the scenes and can recover it if there's an emergency need of some sort. But for the data cut analysis that's sent to Duke as part of the harvest, it would not be included in that. So it would be removed from that.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Jeanette. Next question. If I am uploading data weekly, but then upload a quarter, then upload a week, does the quarterly data get removed? If so, then I have to resubmit each quarter before data submission? Question mark.
This is Jeanette. I can take that one too. So if you are uploading data weekly and you upload a week every week, then you upload a quarter, then do another week, it'll be fine because the submission will only check the earliest procedure date or the earliest surgery date and the latest surgery date in each submission. So if you were somehow, and I don't think any of the vendor systems really allow this, if you were somehow getting like one record that was like 3 months earlier and then also had a bunch that were just this 1 week that you were working on, that would be a problem, but your vendor system won't allow that. You'll pick a date range for your submission. And so then that submission will come to us and we'll just detect that earliest start date and that latest end date in each submission file. So it wouldn't clear out all of your full quarter submissions if you then go back to doing a week. Paul, did you want to add anything there?
No, I think that covers it. So it just basically, the only thing that would get replaced is what's in the file you're sending us at the time. So if you switch from, week to week to week, just those weeks are going to get added in. You send the whole quarter, it would replace everything for that quarter. And then if you send just 1 week in the middle of that quarter, just that week gets replaced. So it's always based on the file that you send us.
Great. That's helpful. Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Paul. Next question. Is the harvest still closing on 5/22? So Harvest 2 2020 was canceled. We're not having a Harvest 2 that closes in May. That would be the first quarter of data contained, that would contain data through, I think that date is March 31st. That harvest is not happening. We combine that harvest with Harvest 3, which will contain data through June 30th of 2020, and that close date is August 21st. We sent out notifications to sites back in the end of March regarding that. Next question. For the issues that were fixed, do we need to resubmit to get them fixed, or will previous uploads be fixed?
This is Melanie. I can answer that one. So for those that I identified, those are not going to require you to have to resubmit. So those, your submission as is fine. So you would not need to resubmit your files.
Great, thank you. Next question. Can you show how to pull the missingness report into Excel?
I can.
Are you able to? Okay,
I have it up.
I'll stop sharing. Okay, let me know when you're ready. I'll stop sharing my
Sure.
screen.
Give me 1 second. Let me just change my monitor and then I will share.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Move you
Can see
guys
it
over.
now.
Okay. Alrighty. So once you run the report, if you were to highlight, and you can just use your mouse, left click and highlight, and you'll see that there is a blue shaded box that is now appearing over those cells. Okay, and you can just do that for the entire list. And once you release, you'll see that all of the cells will turn dark blue, so you know that they're all selected. This will give you all of the results down in the case list. And at this point, you can
Sorry,
use
Mel.
the option.
So you did a left click and then you dragged your mouse while the left click button was still down, right?
That is correct. Let me just do that again.
So it
this-
wasn't like a tap on
No
one.
tap.
It was left click,
It was
down,
left click.
hold,
Exactly.
drag. Yep.
So let me yes, because sometimes some people may just tap it once, and if you tap it once, it'll just do the one cell. So let's just make sure that you're going to tap, left click on that mouse, and you're holding it. And while I'm holding it, I'm dragging my mouse. Okay, and then I'm just bringing it down, and it's going all the way down, and I let go. Once I let go, all of the cells are highlighted, and I'm at the very bottom of the report. You see that I'm down here at the bottom. Okay, once that's done, all of the results will display at the very bottom of the report in the case list. And here you have the option to select File and Export. And you'll see the option where it says Microsoft Excel Export. Okay, select that. It brings you to this menu to export to Excel. Select the option that it says Active Page. Okay, once you select Active Page, there's nothing else that you would need to select. You click on Export, and it will generate the Excel extract for you. It downloaded here, it's still loading, but that will give you all of the results for the missing report.
And could you show that for people if they just don't have Microsoft Office? There's another option too that'll let them use a different spreadsheet editor, right?
Yes, so if you were to select the File menu again, select Export, you'll see that there's an option for Table or Table without value formatting. These additional options here are for those that are not using Excel. Okay, so let me, hold on a second, it opened up on my other screen, so I was trying to see if I can pull it over. One moment. Here's the Excel extract. Here is the full report. And then if you're viewing your case list, all results, that's on a separate tab for you. Okay, so that's how you would do your export for the missingness report. You also can right click to bring up another menu, and you will also have an option to export using that menu. So just wanted to show you have two ways of being able to get to the export menu. And you can choose the option for Microsoft Excel, or if you're using another program, you have the option to export table or export table without value formatting. Okay, and I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome.
Can you all see my other screen okay?
Yep, I see important dates.
Okay, great. Next question. That was helpful, Melanie. Thank you. Next question. Do we need to do anything for the uploader card issue? We are having this issue.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, you would not have to do anything. So that's something that we're actively working on at the moment, but just know with that issue, the files that you uploaded, they are being added into the database, and you would be able to see that once you open the data quality report. But there's nothing that you would need to do at this time.
Great, thank you. And then I had a couple questions in here regarding Harvest 1 of 2020 report. That Harvest 1 2020 report typically comes out the end of April because of the bidirectional data exchange. And I don't know, Melanie, if you want to explain this further, I'm happy to take a stab at it, and then that you maybe, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about the technical side of things. But I can briefly describe that the data needs to get sent over to DCRI. We had our harvest close the end of February. In that time after February through mid-March, but things kind of have to go in order the way that data goes and the way that DCRI would accept that data in, and making sure IQVIA and DCRI had the same understanding about what was being sent, what was being accepted, and what's going back to IQVIA for dashboard reporting. So we confirmed all of that about a week or so ago. It takes some time because it's just, it's fairly technical, and as you know, our risk modeling and our reporting out of benchmark data is rather complex. So it took a little bit of time to make sure that we were all on the same page. We confirmed that, and it takes about, once that was confirmed, that DCRI has all of the data now, and it takes about 21 business days for them to do the calculations, the risk adjustment, and all of that on the data to send back to IQVIA. IQVIA, in the meantime, is working on building the dashboard for the benchmarked data, which will be the end of year report for 2019. They're working on building that dashboard simultaneously as DCRI is doing the analysis on the data that's expected to go back into that dashboard. So the time frame for the release of the 2019 report will be sometime in June. That's what we're anticipating. As we get closer, and I don't know if it will be done earlier or not, but as we get closer, we'll communicate out those dates more concrete. Melanie, did you have anything to add to that, or Jeanette?
Just wanted to share that. So once those reports are available, they will be additional reports. So these will be brand new dashboard links that you will see within the operational reports menu. So it's not going to update your current dashboard. You will have a new dashboard that will be displaying those results from DCRI. But Carol, you covered all of the different steps within that process.
Yeah, and this is just the first time with that bidirectional data exchange. After we get this down and we have our specifications between IQVIA and DCRI set, which is happening, which happened and is getting fine-tuned as we go through this process the first time. The next reports will be much quicker. So that is kind of an expected consequence of this bidirectional data exchange, but it will get better. And then I also wanted to talk about the reports when they do come back, and they'll be in that benchmarked dashboard. We will be providing some intensive education to both surgeons and to data managers regarding how to use those dashboards for things that are important to each group, and also helping sites pull down reports within that dashboard. And we'll just have to plan those out as we get closer and have more to demonstrate, more actual material to demonstrate to everybody, but we will help you with that to make sure that everybody's comfortable using that. Next question, do we have a time frame when IQVIA will allow hospitals for direct submission rather than going through a third-party vendor? So that's our go live for that will be July 1st with the release of the version 4.20 upgrade. And next question, do we have webinars June 3rd and 4th? STS website shows the new data manager webinar on June 3rd. We have a webinar on June 3rd, and I think, hold on one second. We have a ACSD monthly webinars on June 3rd. That's our monthly one. That's the same one that's taking place today. That's more of the didactic, educational, for all type webinar. And then on June 4th, we start our new data manager series with session 1 happening at 2 p.m. Central on that day. Next question, will the quarterly DCRI reports disappear? Will they be accessible on the IQVIA website? If not, will there be any comprehensive standardized report replacing them? The PDF report is being transformed into dashboard reporting, and we will, that PDF report is going away. So we'll be using strictly dashboard reporting with downloadable reporting features. Melanie, did you want to explain that any further?
But yeah, it's basically a part of what you were describing earlier too in regards to the benchmark report. So everything is transitioning from being in a paper format now into an electronic format where you're able to interact with the data and even have some drill down capabilities within some of those reports too. So more interactive, more real time. And that's basically, you'll be able to access that within the IQVIA platform.
Great, thank you.
So this is Paul. I believe there's no plan to continue having those. I think there's like some cutoff date coming up and I don't know what it is for the paper reports. If you're still getting them, if you still have access to them and you want them, I'd go grab them because
Oh,
that's
Oh, it's
probably
too
going to
late.
go away.
That's too late now.
Is that
Too late.
gone already? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
the reporting portal closed on March 31st. So we did
Oh,
send
okay.
out quite a few communications to sites. I think we sent out 3 communications to sites shortly before that closed, and then we were reporting it out on the webinar. So hopefully everybody got those. Right, those reports didn't vanish. They didn't get deleted, but they did go into cold storage, I believe, at IQVIA, and will take quite a bit of effort to. I don't even know that they're accessible right now. I think that's coming in a different phase, probably phase 28 or something. I don't know, but
No, not available at the moment.
but not right now. They're not available. Next question: is the positive COVID date results for a temporary field date the actual date the test was performed, or the date the test was reported or resulted? That will be the date the test was performed. Next question. Has there been any thought to permitting multiple dates for COVID testing so that one might be able to track when in relation to operation patient became positive and whether or not there may have been a nosocomial infection? So we are not collecting multiple dates. The surgeon leaders, Dr. Fernandez, Dr. Badwar, and Shahian and D'Agostino wanted to stick with just the one date that the patient tested positive closest to the OR date. If this is something that you would want to track at your site, you could probably work with your vendor to add in more fields for you. But for STS, for the purposes of what the STS surgeons were looking for, and Dr. Kurlansky, I know you're friends with them, so this is what they were looking for, was just the one date right now instead of adding extra burden to the site. Next question: when receiving audit results, is there a scale or benchmark? For example, 95% exceeds expectation, 95% good, etc. So I don't believe that we have that right now. We are working, and I'm not sure if Emily is still on or not. We were working with putting through some type of getting some type of approval from our leadership to do this, but we have not solidified any of these types of scales or benchmarking for sites. Emily, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we typically, yeah, no, that's about it. I would say anything, you know, below 80% is something that we would be concerned about. Anything, I mean, we're very happy with anything from 100 to 90%. And, you know, we're just happy that you guys are doing the audit for us and for you too. So,
yeah, 80% is pretty alarming. That's something definitely that we would want to educate on if we saw a big trend in that where sites were consistently low in the area. It indicates that we're probably not doing a good enough job of educating. But 90% is fair, and we would always, our results are usually around between 93 and 96% cumulative. So we like to keep it around that. We would love 100%, but that's not possible. Thank you, Emily. Next question. What if the patient is confirmed COVID-19 positive on autopsy, but no other COVID test is performed as documented in the medical record? I think that's a great question, and probably something we can clarify in the training manual. I don't want to just take a stab at this, but I would say that we would probably use the date of death or the date of discharge, or one of those dates as the testing date if the patient is dead. We don't have any filters or anything stopping the date for the COVID testing to occur after the date of discharge, so it can be any date that you enter in there. I think we would have, Melinda and I will probably have to take that back to the surgeons just to clarify. I think she may have dropped off again. Oh no, she's there. We'll probably just have to take that back to the surgeons and clarify what happens, what we would do with that. Next question. Okay. As a new data manager, is there a defined training program I can access? Yes, you sure can. Well, we'll have the new training new data manager session starting on June 4th, and then we have a couple videos online. And Katie, if you want to email me, I'll be happy to point you in the direction for those new videos. Hold on one second. I'll put my I'll put my information back up here for you. Next question. In reviewing the STS adult cardiac surgery database missingness summary for Q1 2020, I know I have missing readmissions because it has not been 30 days since discharge for some patients, but it is not showing up on the missingness report. Shouldn't the missing readmission data be on this report as well? I did send this into tech support and my ticket number. She listed her ticket number there.
Okay, I'll need to take a look at it to see what.
Yeah,
what
and I would just
we
make
have.
sure that you're filtering on the right dates. That might be something too to check into. Next question. How do we notify you if we want to use the IQVIA platform for data entry and not our vendor on 7/1? We will be communicating out as we get closer on how to do that and what the steps will be to do that. We'll be communicating that out. We still haven't finalized our plan, but the date is set for July 1st. If we use IQVIA for direct data submission for our data, will we have the ability to run any reports at any point to see where we are for PIs, or do we need to wait for the official harvest data report? So you have that ability, and I can take a stab at this, Melanie, and then if you or anybody on your team wants to jump in, but I do believe they have the ability now to run these types of reports in their unadjusted raw dashboard to look for your quality improvement projects. If you're tracking a prolonged vent time or things like that, the data would be raw, but we wouldn't have analyzed data until the end of the harvest and when the data goes to a DCRI for analysis. Melanie, did you have anything to add to that?
That's correct. That's exactly. They would have the same dashboard and would be seeing that information on the unanalyzed data. And then, of course, when we get back the analyzed data, you would be able to view that too.
Great, thank you. Next question. So a couple questions here kind of look like they're talking about the dashboard and what's available now and what's coming. This question is, the results that I'm seeing in my dashboard, is that the final calculated result? The dashboard that you're seeing now is the raw unadjusted result. The dashboard that will be available once that data comes back from DCRI will be a benchmark dashboard. So you'll have two dashboards, and then that will be the final calculated results with your ODE ratios and your star rating. Next question. Is it possible for the date range of the files submitted to display in the file details of the upload history? This would be extremely helpful to know this at a glance. Anybody?
Yeah, I believe, Paul, isn't there an update with the new version related to the file name? I'm sorry,
Yeah, so
it's slipping me.
so there's going to be with the 4.20.2 spec upgrade, what we're requesting the vendors do is change the way they create the files. That like if your participant ID is 39999, right now the file name is 3999adt.dat. We're asking them to put into that file name, it'll still be 3999adt and then underscore followed by the year, month, day, hour, and minutes. So you're going to get this big long string of numbers after it, but it'll help you identify when you extracted the data. It does not tell you the what is contained in the file. It's the date that the file was created. So that's the naming convention that we're going with.
And another thing that we are looking into and enhancing is when you're in the data quality report, being able to show the date range in the report. So that is something that we're looking at too in regards to enhancement. So really it's trying to approach giving more visibility on the file name of the timing of when you uploaded, and then when you go into the report, being able to see that information there.
Great. Great, thank you. Next question, is there a way to download the entire data quality report and not just one section at a time?
You should be able to, when you go into once you load the data quality report, all of the columns can be displayed if you were to left click on your mouse and hold over that pie graph visualization. It's going to then populate all of the related errors, warnings, and it will display all of those warnings in the bottom section of the report, and you can export everything. So once that's done, you can go to the file menu and then select the export option, and that will give you everything within that report. And I believe, and there is a recording that's posted to the STS site, that workflow of showing you how to highlight the pie graph, and then it's displaying all of the errors, warnings. It's in that video also, but that's how you would get all of the results to display.
Yeah, and let me see if I can pull that up here real quick for everybody. I might be able to. Hold on one second. Let's see. Or maybe not. Nope, I can't get it. Sorry.
It's okay. I think you have the link in the PowerPoint. So the database transitions page, the link is also
okay, here it is.
available. Yep, I see you.
Okay. You can see my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the STS.org webpage, and then Registries and Research and STS National Database. And then if you scroll down, we have important resources here, and it would be the database transition resource. We'll take you to our videos that we have, educational how-to videos, and then review videos. And we have the data quality report video on here. And then we also have some step-by-step guides regarding uploader and dashboard review. So you probably want to check those out. Again, that's STS.org, Registries and Research, and then the STS National Database page. Okay. And I'm going to stop sharing so you can see our pictures. Okay. Next question. I just want to make sure I understand if I have to go back and resubmit records just for a certain single day, it will only replace the records for this date. And that's correct.
That is correct.
Yep, that's correct. Okay. Next question. We have about a minute here, so I'll see if I can get through some of these here. On a prior webinar, it was stated that the slide PowerPoint report would be done by IQVIA, just like STS had for us in prior harvest. That is something we will work on with IQVIA to provide. We haven't gotten to that step yet, but we will work with them on that. Does that sound familiar to you, Melanie?
Yes, and I remember, and I think that's Pat.
Okay.
I'm remembering names, but yes, we have.
Great. And then I just want to clarify this. Yeah, I just want to clarify this one. It says there's a lot of information in the PDF report as how the metrics are calculated, which is great for new data managers. Will that background information all be provided somewhere? So we will have a report overview section. It will be a static, like a PDF, a static PDF that will contain all of that information that's in the report overview now. And I guess we'll take one more. When I attempt to export data, I did get redirected to the main IQVIA website that I don't have login access to. What am I doing wrong? It sounds like you need to have access to that, Katie. So you'll need to be listed as one of the primary or backup data contacts. Before everybody goes though, don't hang up yet. Just hold on one second because I have Jane wanted to share some information with everybody. So when for this, when I attempt to export data, I get redirected to the main IQVIA website. You want to go in and make sure that you're listed as one of the people associated with that account with that site. So you would need to either fill out a participant contact form and be a primary or backup data contact. If you did have access and you're having issues with your previous access, you're going to want to contact the IQVIA help desk at STS tech support at IQVIA.com. And Jane had something to share with everybody regarding our email blasts that are going out and rejections that we're seeing, or sites not receiving our communication. So Jane, I'll hand it over to you for the last couple minutes here.
Oh, thank you, Carol. I just wanted to, I know that we've sent a lot of email blasts out since October, and we've received feedback from a number, I would say more than a number of data managers who have a difficult time receiving our emails. And it's really difficult to get to the kind of the source issue of whether it's being blocked by the hospital or it's not whitelisted properly, and we realize that it's causing frustration, and these email blasts contain a lot of very important information for you to do your job. So we, if you would be interested, we'd be more than happy to take your personal email addresses as well and log that in your contact sheet in STS's records as your secondary email. And what we're doing going forward at STS is every time an email blast goes out, we're not only sending it to your work email, but the secondary email that's listed as well. If that's something you're interested in doing, and I know that that has been taken up by some of the data managers, please feel free to email us at stsdb@sts.org, and we'll add that secondary email to your account to ensure that you receive the email blast not only to your work email address on file, but also whatever personal email that you'd like to list as well.
Great. Thank you, Jane. That's very helpful. I'm just going to answer this one last question before we go, because I think I don't want people to stop not submitting data. It says we can upload Q2 files now, even though the deadline has been moved to August. So yes, the only downtime that we have between harvest is probably about an hour or two the night of harvest close, when IQVIA puts what they call like a virtual timestamp on things, and you can still continue to harvest. Do not stop. You do not have to wait for any harvest to open. It's open. So go ahead and harvest your files. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. See ya. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks. Bye.